We will begin as usual with the question of whether there is any public comment on items not on today's agenda. Any public comment? Okay, seeing none, we will just roll right into the agenda. Our first item is brought to us by Deb Clark. This is a request to authorize the chair to sign a purchase agreement with Titan Machinery.
Good morning. Public Works budgeted this year, FY21, $425,000 between the Lolo RSID, the road department, and the bridge to purchase a vac truck. We went out and got bids, and we went through Sourcewell, and we found a vac truck that met everything that we needed below the $425,000 we had budgeted for $374,434,000. We received the truck, they've received training, everything meets our qualifications, and we're very happy with it. They've already used it. I was told to clean out a sump, and it took 1/10 the time the way that used to work. So yeah, so it's a cost savings that way. You know, time is money in my world, and we will no longer have to go out and contract to clean out the lines in the Lolo area, which has cost $50,000 to $60,000. So this vac truck will pay for itself over the years. So,
Deb, just a question procedurally. So we apparently already have the truck. How is it that the agreement to purchase it is coming to us today?
Oh, we had gone through your guys through the proper channels to have an agreement signed to purchase the truck via the commissioners. I can't remember the date that we did that, but
yeah, I was gonna say, I thought we had done this already. So what are we doing today?
This is to actually pay for the truck.
So commissioners, you awarded the bid so that they could purchase, and this is the final purchase contract.
Correct.
So they use a two-step process at Public Works.
Yep.
Okay.
I was lucky enough to stumble into seeing this truck in action the other day.
Oh, I'm jealous.
Yeah. Yeah. And you could get sucked up in it and never be seen again. End up in the belly of a whale or something. It was an impressive deal. It was sucking on one side of a culvert, and the other side of the culvert, like 30 feet away, you could see the rustling of pulled air.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, I motion that the board approve, or that Strohmeyer sign the purchase agreement.
There we go. I'll second that.
Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I would say that what you've just described there, Josh, is certainly worthy of a news story on one of our local TV networks.
Yeah, I would say it would, under the head of a line something like Missoula County continues to suck.
Well, as one writer of an editorial in today's Missoulian would probably concur. So
I missed that. Yeah, I was having such a good day. I missed it.
That's okay. You don't crack open the paper. So moving right along, Kayla, what do you have for us?
Hi, good morning. I'm here to request board approved chair to sign the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development special COVID-19 amendment to our 2019 Continuum of Care program. This is the program that we partner with the YWCA of Missoula to provide rental assistance. I brought to you guys the letter that we requested to HUD to adjust the contract to move $30,000 to the out of rental assistance into case management, and HUD approved our request. So this is just requesting Commissioner Strohmeyer to sign this budget amendment.
Okay, any questions?
Well, sounds like a timely thing to do given where we are in the pandemic. Way to be flexible. Appreciate that. So I would move that we request the board chair to sign the agreement.
Second.
Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kayla.
Thanks,
Thank
Kayla.
you.
All right, and another big item. This is significant. $700,000 for 2 years. MacArthur Foundation Safety and Justice Challenge Grant. Kelly.
Good morning. Yes, so this is the grant acceptance agreement for the Macarthur Foundation Safety and Justice Challenge Grant. This is a continuation grant for a total of $700,000 over 2 years, and the purpose of the funds is to reduce incarceration as well as address racial and ethnic disparities in the jail population. This grant will fund a number of positions at different agencies, including the Detention Center, Office of Public Defender, Probation and Parole, and all of those positions will be focused on jail diversion, as well as the Safety and Justice Challenge Coordinator at our department. It also funds training, equipment, mileage, some IT system improvements like a court reminder system for the Office of the Public Defender. So I'm happy to take questions if you have any.
Is it a court
Questions?
reminder system? Is that text messaging or what is that?
You know, I am not sure, but that's what I would guess. Because
great.
there's also a significant amount of funds for things like phones for defendants. And I assume that is, you know, that when a person doesn't have a phone, they don't remember to go to court, you can't contact them.
Right.
So it reduces the likelihood that they would fail to appear.
So nationally, there's sort of been a whole lot of attention as of late around criminal justice reform, and it's quite wonderful to see that we are at the forefront of this. This is the second year we received this grant, and we are slowly but surely making headway in this realm. And the positions you described do the on-the-ground work that actually get better justice for everyone. That's defendants, victims, everybody.
Mm-hmm.
That's our real goal here, is justice for all.
Mm-hmm.
Congratulations.
Yeah, well done, Kelly.
Yeah.
Well done, Chantel.
Thank you. I had nothing to do with it.
I know Chantel put a lot of time and effort into it.
She did.
Hopefully she's on the call and gets the props she deserves.
Yeah, thanks to all the staff who've participated in getting us to this point, and we'll be implementing work on the ground when this money flows in. I see Martin and Madison on the line here, although I suspect you were here for the vac truck. This might be something that is of interest to you. Any questions or comments from our members of the media for this item?
Hey, this is Martin. Good morning. Maybe just a quick word on how this fits into the county's master jail diversion plan.
Kelly?
You know, I am coming into this grant sort of very recently, and so I actually don't have an answer, but I could refer Chantel to you, Martin, for that.
Chantel?
I don't think she's here, but I can have her call you.
Sure, or while it's fresh in everyone's mind, anyone else on the line, Chris or others, anyone like to address that question for Martin?
I can speak to it just a little bit in that this heads in the same direction. The goals are the same. The idea behind the jail diversion master plan was to make sure that the only people in jail were people who were actually really dangerous and didn't needed to be separated from society. And the work being done by the folks who are funded through this grant heads all in that same direction. Things like reentry and mental health and getting people real reminders so they show up to court so they don't end up in jail for a failure to appear, which doesn't mean that they're dangerous. So we are meeting the goals set forth in the jail diversion master plan. And that was a plan. This is actually money to get the work done. So in that way, they align.
Thanks, Josh.
Yeah, the departments of the positions that you mentioned, Kelly, I don't know if can you repeat them again?
Yeah. So this funds a number of folks. Kim White is the reentry coordinator at the detention center, so that position's already been hired. We're also working with the Office of Public Defender to hire a Native American support specialist, which is pretty exciting. We're talking with probation and parole to have a person there who would be dually licensed, so an LCSW and an LAC, to do assessments and referrals in the community and work with probation officers on improving that referral process. Sorry, I'm pulling up the budget. There's also 2 community support specialists, and we're still in talks to figure out where those folks would live, what is the most appropriate place for them. And the Safety and Justice Challenge Coordinator is the last position. So that person will coordinate all of that work that's happening.
I just want to throw out one other thing that's separate from this grant, but just to say this idea to move us forward around criminal justice reform isn't only adopted by our criminal justice division. The county attorneys have made some great headway on this through their Calibrate program, which is also really pioneering to see prosecutorial jail diversion. And these efforts go hand in hand and are complementary and are really emblematic of us working across departmental boundaries and across elected official boundaries, all in the name of one goal, and that is criminal justice reform.
Well said. Madison, any questions from you?
No, I think that was perfect. Thank you.
Well, with that, I move that the chair sign the grant award agreement to accept the Macarthur Foundation Safety and Justice Challenge Grant.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks,
All
Kelly.
right. Thanks, Kelly.
Thank you.
I will get that signed. It is in my inbox already, so I'll take care of it. Thank you. Okay, moving right along. Next, we have a request to approve and authorize the chair to sign a Montana Department of Public Health and Human Services task order related to immunization. Colleen Morris.
Yes, hi, good morning. My name is Colleen Morris, and I manage the immunization clinic over at Missoula City County Health Department. And we received a second amendment to our immunization task order that we get from the state every year. So I was here, a month or two ago with an additional $38,000 that DPHHS had sent us to increase vaccination outreach and efforts for COVID vaccine. So they've now sent us an additional $289,181 to just really beef up our efforts to reach those who are maybe more vaccine hesitant, outlying communities, really start working with medical specialists to make sure that people are recommending COVID vaccine to their clients or their patients, create other kind of creative things like mobile outreach clinics, which our incident command team is really working on, starting to do some of these pop-up clinics or mobile vaccine clinics. Like they did one on Cinco de Mayo at Imagination Brewery that was pretty successful. So this money will go to more planning and outreach. So
Cool.
that
Great.
is
Josh was wondering where you were just a few minutes ago.
I know. Yeah, we had this discussion. We so needed you, but I'm glad to see you.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. I'm doing like 3 different things right now, so I was late to join the meeting.
You were.
No, it was an earlier meeting.
It was
today.
Okay.
9 o'clock. Yeah. So can you speak to some of the strategies you all will implement to address vaccine hesitancy? From out there in the media, there's been lots of talk that traditional public health approaches, basically telling people what they have to do for their own safety, does not work with vaccine hesitancy. Are you guys going to employ different messengers, maybe more trusted messengers? Well, what's your plan on how to address this?
Yes, and I can speak to it about as much as I know. I will, full disclosure, I'm really the one who is listed on this task order as the contact person, and so I'm kind of just the messenger. Jake Fuller with the operations chief for the incident command system, who I don't think is on this meeting. I should have had him join us, but he would have more information than I do on specific strategies. But we have been communicating and in talks about how to really coordinate messages as we go to back to school, how to get, the spacing of routine vaccines and the COVID vaccine. As you know, there has to be 2 weeks kind of before and after a COVID dose before you can receive other vaccines like a tetanus Tdap booster that you would need to enter 7th grade. So we're talking about that, but in those talks, we've also been working with Haley Devlin, who's the PIO for the health department response for COVID. And, as they have a come together campaign that you've probably heard of, where we're trying to get partnerships developed with places like St. Pat's Hospital and other organizations around the community to really start spreading the message. And again, I mentioned those mobile clinics and pop-up clinics, because like you said, Josh, as we're seeing around the country, you know, we've vaccinated those people who are just knocking down our doors. And now we need to find other methods for reaching the people who are just, you know, if we bring the vaccine to them, they might be okay to get it, but they might not go out of their way to, you know, to come make an appointment or something. So that's really the idea, is to start going to some of these outlying communities with our public health ban that we have, and taking COVID vaccine out to places, in addition to just pop-up clinics kind of around town where people will show up with vaccine and set up a clinic. So there's a lot of talks going on now, looking at different strategies, and a lot of coordinating with the schools. As you know, the Pfizer vaccine has FDA approval for 12 to 15-year-olds. So that's a lot of what the rush today is, to figure out how to reach those, that age group. So a lot happening. I would say, you know, Jake Fuller or Cindy Farr, one of those guys, would have more specifics.
And one of the presentations that Ellen gave, she really highlighted that the 21 to 29-year-olds, that age group, had not really taken advantage of the vaccine. And it wasn't because of politically oriented vaccine hesitancy, but more just around convenience and the pattern of how people lead their lives. And we would really need to bring the vaccine to them as opposed to expecting them to make appointments. So I really hope you all can make headway there, not just because this group has a lot of numbers in it, but because they move about. And so if they're vaccinated, we get less disease community-wide. So given that their nature of their behavior makes them great vectors, we should really, I hopefully can prioritize them as getting vaccines to them. So I don't want to take it.
No, we were thinking 2 a.m. at Winco might be the perfect time to snag some additional. So
that's a good idea. Yeah. Well, and I think the breweries, you know, again, it's just I've heard more talk, you know, nationwide now. Gallatin County did one. I've heard, you know, nationally, on NPR the other day, they did a big partner with the breweries for a free beer and a shot, and it was just super successful. And so getting creative.
I'm so glad to hear you say that, and that you are open to that. I feel like that's absolutely the kind of thinking that is going to be required, and we may need to shed the shackles of public health tradition and actually engage with bad public health, like drinking, in order to make sure that we get this larger goal met. And that may mean doing things after 5 o'clock too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So in the way that you all did with imagination. So you get kudos for that, and of the same. So with that, I would move that we request the board approve and chair to sign the Montana Department of Public Health and Human Services task order.
Second.
Any further discussion or public comment? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, Colleen. I might be signing up for my 3rd vaccination if there's an IPA involved. So.
There you go.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, you guys.
Colleen.
Have a good day.
Thanks.
Oh, and in the spirit of big ticket items here, Andrew, we have a request to authorize or for the board to approve and adopt a resolution relating to issuance of $4,592,000 in open space general obligation bonds, Series 2021. Andrew.
Just a minute on that last item. You know, a number of weeks ago, I suggested to Ann Hughes that we have an event at a bar, and you have a shot, get a shot.
I love that.
Have a shot, nowhere. I mean,
have a shot, get a shot. That's fantastic, Andrew. Sign me up.
Anyway, I stray away from my issue. On November 6th of 2018, the electors of Missoula County approved $15 million in open space general obligation bonds to be issued in aggregate or in series. I'm asking you to approve the first series in that issuance of $4,592,000. The reason we're doing it this way, I agonized over this because Generally, I would like to take the entire $15 million and go to the primary markets with an underwriter and sell it, and that's our absolute lowest cost of capital. But we have to have, the law says we have to have a reasonable expectation that we will expend those funds within a 3-year period. The open space folks told me that they couldn't do that. Missoula County committed to spending $1.5 million in that next 3 years, and the city of Missoula committed to spending $3 million in the next 3 years. So that's why we're going with the $4.592 million in open space bonds. I thought about doing it as a taxable issuance, which would have gotten us away from that limitation. The interest rate compared to what I got today just didn't make sense. So we threw that away. What I did was we had our municipal finance advisor, Fieldman Rollout, negotiate a deal with First Security Bank at 2.7% interest with no call redemption feature that would restrict us from paying it off earlier. So at the end of 3 years, I fully intend on refunding this and hopefully in a larger amount so I can hit the primary markets and get that lower cost of capital without extending the overall maturity of the issuance. So my recommendation would be to go ahead with the $4.592 million issuance with First Security Bank and approve this resolution, and we'll go ahead and execute and have funds on hand on the 19th of this month.
Andrew, does that mean the First Security Bank is buying this bond, or are they helping sell it? I'm sorry for.
No, they're buying. They're directly buying the bonds.
Great. So that's why we're not. When you said not going to the primary market, we're just selling it to them. We get the money. It's kind of clean and simple.
Right.
It meets our spending goals in the way that going to the primary market for the whole total, we wouldn't be able to do that many projects in 3 years.
Right. And then even if I went to the primary market with this small amount of debt, the cost would far outweigh the savings. So that's why we're doing it this way as well.
Good. Thank you.
You bet.
Thank you. So I'm going to motion that we approve to adopt the resolution relating to the issuance of 4,592,000 open space general obligation bond series 2021.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion or public comment?
I just wanted to say in the write-up, I thumbed the amount, so it's 4,552 in the write-up, but it is the correct amount in the recommended action.
Oh, thank you.
You bet.
Okay, as noted. Any questions from the media? Okay, seeing none, let's go ahead and vote. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank
you,
you,
Andrew. And
Thank
thanks for the explanation.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
You bet. My pleasure.
Don't be surprised if we ask you the same questions in the future, but I have to constantly be reminded of these things every time we take action on them. So thanks.
Not a problem. And we did get signed up in the federal portal yesterday for our upcoming ARPA money. Took me the entire afternoon.
Oh, nice work, Andrew. That's such a big deal.
It was insane. I mean, I couldn't believe the technology they used. I'm working on my computer and they wanted my passport and my driver's license. And they said, "Are you ready for your selfie?" I said, "What, my selfie?" They said, "Yeah, can we use your phone for?" So I held up my phone. I hadn't even turned on my phone. They got into my phone and then did
They got into your phone.
Yeah, and took a selfie, but it was multiple colors and it kept surrounding my face to identify myself as Andrew Chorney. And then even after that, I had to talk to somebody in person, present my ID and passport again. It took 4.5 hours to get us registered. It was unbelievable. But I guess you have
that, what does Jason call a multi-factor authentication? I mean, given the amount of money and how horrible the fraud would be, I'm glad they're going to these lengths, and I'm super glad that you could stick it out on all our behalf.
Yeah, we'll see if 23 million is now deducted from our account by some offshore
Yeah, I may have
Yeah.
done that
It
backwards.
could be the same entity that just cyber hijacked that pipeline operation.
All right. Thanks, Andrew.
You bet.
Next, we have a few board appointments. Kyla, walk us through these. I think the third item here, actually item 8 on the agenda, is probably moot to some extent, but let's start with the Clinton Rural Fire District.
Sure. Good morning, Commissioners. So we had one applicant apply for the vacancy, and the vacancy term is June 1st, 2021 through May 31st, 2024. And that was Ryan Handley.
He was fantastic.
It was fantastic. Well, thanks for saying that, Juan. Yeah, I was just gonna say what an inspiration, and I think there's something to be said for the wonderfulness of where we are, that our best and brightest, exemplified by Mr. Handley, actually want to come back and be here and get involved in civic affairs as well as commercial affairs. So well done, Ryan. And
Clinton's lucky to have him and his
Absolutely.
family. So yeah.
And he'll drop the median age significantly, probably, for the fire district board.
Boom, that thing just dropped.
Yeah. Oh, it's yours, Josh.
I would reappoint Ryan to the fire board.
Second.
Any further discussion on the appointment? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thanks. Kyla, next, East Missoula Community Council.
Yes, there's 2 expiring terms as of May 31st, 2021. Lisa Thomas submitted her letter of interest. She has served 1 full term and is eligible for reappointment. Ryan Alter also submitted a letter of interest, has also served 1 term and is eligible for reappointment. So the motions are to reappoint them to new 3-year terms starting June 1st, 2021 through May 31st, 2024 to the East Missoula Community Council.
Okay, I motion that we reappoint members to the new 3-year terms to the East Missoula Community Council.
Yeah, I'll second that and say we love the East Missoula Community Council, that they're active and on it. Way to go.
Yeah.
Yes, and folks willing to re-up, that's always a good thing. So any further discussion on the motion to reappoint these 2 folks? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and the next and final board appointment item, I believe we're just going to hold open the application period to see if we can get some more folks to beef up the applicant pool here, so we have a greater array of folks to choose from. Kyla, anything you'd like to add here?
No, the Sealy Lake Community Council will just stay open until we get more applicants. And then at that time, we will put this item back on another agenda. So we'll postpone it for today.
Okay, no action on item 8 today. All right, moving on to correspondence. Intelitech, who is talking to us about this?
Hi, everybody. So with the Sheriff's Office today, back on April 27th, we had a discussion regarding Intelitech. It is IMAX, which is our program that our civil office uses to process paperwork and all of their information. And we wanted to send a letter advising Intelitech of their breach in support. So today we're here to present that letter. It was actually sent previously with all the documents when we set up the meeting. So we just needed the commissioner's approval to send out that letter advising them of our intention to terminate the contract, which gives them 30 days to basically fix the errors. And if they don't, then at that time we'll be terminating that contract.
Okay, are we all good with sending that letter out?
Yeah.
Sorry you guys had to deal with this inconvenience, Nadine.
Oh, hey, that's fine. It's par for the course. And the letter itself does have a spelling error. I will fix that. Jaren's name was misspelled, but I'll certainly fix that before we send it out.
Thank you.
For correcting it.
Yeah, thanks. Hopefully better days ahead there.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, moving into discussion items. We do have one matter that I think we might need to close for litigation strategy, but before we do, anything COVID-19 related or anything else we want to discuss? And this might be more of a Martin Kidston.
Mark's got his hand up.
Yes.
No, I'm sorry. I don't mean to, I'm not, COVID is, I'll wait till you're done with COVID before you go into executive session. I wanted to get a word regarding the signing of the fuel tax revocation bill.
Ah, yes.
That was signed yesterday by the governor.
A word. It's hard to put into a word what we might respond to on that item. Frustration might be one. The will of the voters being overturned is a serious matter, and particularly in light of the fact that we and other counties across Montana for years had been chastised for not utilizing this this ability to put before the voters the question of a local option fuel tax, and the minute that the voters in Missoula County actually speak on this issue, it's immediately essentially repealed or nullified by the state legislature. I find that extremely frustrating and I don't know how else to say it, deeply offensive to the voters of Missoula County, having their voice stripped away.
Well said, Dave. Absolutely correct. My little bit to add was that this is, on the part of the legislature, hypocritical at best and vengeful at worst. Our legislature proudly waves a banner of being anti-tax and pro-local control, and we went entirely in that direction. By having a gas tax, we can limit the burden on property taxes for repairing our roads, because we can shift some of that financial burden onto our 1.5 million tourists who would be paying the gas tax, as opposed to our property taxpayers shouldering all of that burden. But the legislature didn't want to go that way. They voted in favor of increased property taxes for citizens of Missoula County in terms of fixing our roads. And they talk about local control when they face off against DC, but they didn't want to abide by the same ethic. We on the ground are really close to the issues, have an understanding of what's involved. They decided to take the power and decision-making away from locals. So share Dave's deep frustration with this.
And last question.
One word, unfortunate.
Unfortunate. As you guys head into the budgeting process, how do you plan to fill this revenue gap? Are you will a tax increase be?
There's only one way to fill it. If either we let the roads not go unrepaired, or we have to raise property taxes.
And the harsh reality is that we in the lead up to thinking about putting this question before the voters in Missoula County, there was discussion of how would a fuel tax like this benefit maintenance, transportation, road maintenance in Missoula County. And certainly following the passage of that, we've had further discussions, and there are projects by which these dollars would have played a huge role in providing match to federal funds for significant projects. And the reality is some of those simply might not get done, and certainly won't get done on the time frame that we had hoped. And that is also very unfortunate.
And all of these projects that we're engaged in are in rural areas. So the rural parts of our county, we're going to benefit from the work that this tax would facilitate. And those projects are hard to fund. They're far out away from the metropolitan area. Not a lot of people live there, and this allowed us the money to get that work done. All of it in rural areas, all of it outside of city limits, and we are running out of options to do those projects now.
We're talking 9 Mile, the Swan, other. Absolutely.
All right, thank you.
You bet. We could probably go on, but we'll cut it off there. If you'd like more words at some point, Martin, let us know. I bet we could come up with them. The only other thing I guess I would add before we move on, at some point we might want to have a discussion of whether or what it would look like to respond to Representative Cheetah's op-ed in the Missoulian today, chastising local government for both the city and the county for the way in which we allocate funds and use tax dollars. So anyway, another discussion there, but there is yet again more misinformation and half truths being spread.
And these are the same folks who pointed fingers at our election processes with no evidence. So I'm taking what they have to say with a grain of salt.
Yeah, we should not give it more credence than it deserves. So anything else before we go into closed meeting here? John Hart. I guess I was presuming that we might want to, but before we do, I guess let's hear from our Deputy County Attorney.
Hey, good morning, Commissioners. This is John Hart from the County Attorney's Office, and I do need to discuss with you a lawsuit that's recently been served on Missoula County. It's a lawsuit by Elizabeth McClay is the plaintiff. The defendant is MPG Ranch Holdings, and it involves some access issues on Miss McClay's ranch vis-a-vis the MPG Ranch, which is adjacent to her ranch. And I want to talk in more detail about this lawsuit with you. That discussion is going to involve the litigation strategy of Missoula County in defending the lawsuit. And so I recommend that you move to close this meeting under the public meeting exception for litigation strategy discussion.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion on closing the meeting for litigation strategy? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So
do we have a separate
you
link?
You should have a separate link from me in your Teams for the closed session.
Okay. Thanks, everyone.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks, everyone. Have a good day.